And then at this point, I guess you're kind of like identifying your strengths. Okay, this is what I like to do. This is
Yeah.
what I don't like to do. I like to make promos. I don't really like to work on whatever it is, documentaries or whatever it is. How did you talk to me about that process? Because as a professional, everybody has to get to a point in their career where they have to figure out, okay, this is what I like to do, and I don't like to do. I'm going to focus on the stuff that I like. What was that process like for you?
For me, I noticed at the time in my career that my attention span for long form things was not there. I just didn't have the same passion of telling a story in 30 seconds or getting somebody hyped up to watch a film or TV show. Um, to me, making a 30-second trailer, 1-minute trailer, even a 2-minute trailer to get somebody pumped to watch something, which is why I enjoyed what we did so much. It was short, digestible content. And what's really interesting is that is coming back again now. You look at Quibi and they're doing exactly what we did in 2010. If you go on Quibi, there's no show that's longer than 7 minutes. No, sorry, that's longer than 10 minutes, actually. Each episode is 7 minutes. Kevin Hart has a new show called Die Hard. It is an interstitial show, but each episode is no longer than 7 minutes, as I said. And same thing goes for the new Punk'd, MTV's Punk'd, which now Quibi has bought the rights to. It's the same thing. So it's really interesting to see that we were doing something that is now people now want to acquire in terms of the way people digest content. And I felt the same way a while ago in terms of putting things together as a package. When I would sit down in the editing suite, I would say I was always trimming the fat to try and make an edit spicier. And then it got to a point when I started making promos, I was like, man, this is like really exciting. And the way people react, to watch something. You could make a promo for the worst movie in the world look like the greatest movie in the world. And then you go to the theater and you're let down, but the job of the promo is to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
The job of the promo is to sell those tickets, is to bring people to the theater. And so for me, that seemed like a really exciting place to be because it's very pivotal in terms of your value for a company. It's like if he could sell the content we need, then he's a really valuable asset to our company in terms of his skill set.
Yeah, and you're mentioning a lot of things here where you figured out you weren't that thrilled about this, you're more thrilled about this, and you kind of want to go in that direction and do more of this and do less of that. What were the things? How did you figure that out? Because some people are working in the industry now and they're just kind of like doing whatever, being generalists. What were the steps that you went to kind of figure out the things that you're good at and the things you're not good at and the things that you like and the things you don't like? And then when did you and how did you make the decision to continue to go in that direction?
For me, finding the ways to, harness these skills and continue to go in the direction of saying, hey, I'm going to work in short form content and promos and TV commercials. It really was about complacency. And I noticed a lot of people at different editorials or different TV stations of where I worked were very complacent in terms of what they wanted. And I also realized that sometimes working on the same thing, there's a lot of shows, for example, you can watch on TV that have the same formula, right? Whether it's interior design, home show, a home cooking show, or even a celebrity contest show, like shows like The Voice. Like these sort of shows have a certain formula in terms of how they execute it. But sometimes when you're working on a certain show that doesn't move you, you're like, I just really want to move on to the next. And that at that point I realized, you know what, maybe I should look into doing commercials, because when you're doing commercials, even if you do 12 McDonald's commercials, it's never going to be the same because they got the Big Mac, they got the McCafe, they got the McChicken, they got the new donut, they got the new, there's always something new when it comes to commercial, whether it's a car commercial, no matter how many times you do one, it's a different concept. And when you're working on a TV show that's not a series, for example, like that's not an HBO series, each episode isn't different. So I found myself working at these places or freelancing at these places where I was getting jobs where I was working on the same thing and it felt very redundant. It felt very redundant. It felt like I wasn't, pushing myself. It felt like I wasn't challenging myself. I was going in and kind of pushing buttons and pushing keys and not really using my mind to say, oh, what if I tried this? Or, oh, what if I tried that? Because everything was very formulaic that I was working on. Even the shows that I was working on at BPM TV, they all had a formula, So for me, eventually it became, you know, I became less motivated, you know, to work. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I think I want to go in this direction because I think my mind will be more stimulated and I'll be more motivated to continue to work, and not get caught in a place where I feel like I'm being a bit complacent, because working on the same show for 30 years doesn't take you anywhere, you know. It's it's really not that fun, especially if you're a creative individual who wants, you know, more stimulation, who wants, to constantly be working on different things and learning from the things that you're working on and learning from the people who you're working with when you work on these different shows, because sometimes you work on a show about dance, music, television, or about food, and you realize, oh, wow, that person's a specialist and they love that. They love talking about food, or that person is like when you look at, you know, Ariani, who hosts Fox for UFC, right?
Ariel, Ariel.
Ariel, yeah, exactly. How do you pronounce his name?
I think it's Ariel Helwani.
Ariel Hawani. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I just said. But when you look at Ariel Hawani, he's very passionate about the fight game. So is Joe Rogan. So is Mauro Ranallo. These are people who are passionate and have a niche. And I wanted to be passionate about what I'm good at and have a niche to present to people so that when people came to me, they knew, oh, you know what? You go to him for this, and this is what he specializes in. Not to pigeonhole myself, but to know that I will constantly having an influx of work in this sector because people know he's really good at doing promos, or he's really good at doing trailers, or you know what I mean?